Time fight coming up this weekend. We have a couple of very interesting fighters in Brazil's Ricardo Ramos. She's taking on the Colombian Warrior, Danny Chavez. Matt, you had a great read on Danny Chavez making his UFC debut. He's taking on TJ Brown. You took Chavez to win the fight. Who would have thought Chavez was going to be taking Danny Brown? Yeah, he's taking Danny Brown down to Detroit and rapping and having a good time. But he was taking TJ Brown down, and Brown, I know he's one of those guys, he tends to get tired in his fights, but a big one for Chavez. He went out, he lost his next fight, he was taking on Jared Gordon, a guy who can cancel out the best fighters on certain days. And then his next time out, draw. And that was a weird one against Kai Kamaka, where even though there was a point deducted due to a low blow for Kamaka, a lot of people thought that Kamaka won that fight, albeit the judges ended up at a draw for the decision. For Ramos, though, this is one of the more interesting guys that I think we've seen in the UFC in a long time. He came in off of Dana White's Looking for a Fight, New England Fights Edition. They were in Maine. Ramos was just 21. He gets a win over Alfred Kashakian, who is in the, I guess, the Zagat guide of the zeitgeist, I guess, of MMA fans, because he's fought some names in the past, notably Sean O'Malley as well, so that's interesting. But for Ramos, he was able to parlay that into a very, very good run to kick off his UFC career. Plenty of knockdowns at the start. He had that spinning back fist win over Ayman Zahabi. But you look at it now, 6-3, still a very respectable UFC record. He's got some bonuses, performance bonuses over Zahabi, as well as Eduardo Gregory, a guy who I don't think the highest of, but Eduardo Gregory, a fighter in the UFC. For Ramos, she did lose his last time out. That was a tricky one against Zubaira Tukhugov. He also has a loss against Lauren Murphy by finish, but wins over Bill Algeo, Eduardo Gregory, and Journey Newsom are some of the recent ones to round it out. Matt, safe to say both guys really need a win. Both guys also have added dimensions to their game, because you look at them, these guys are strikers, but really, both guys actually happen to be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts. And for Danny Chavez, earned his under Daniel Valverde at MMA Masters. Daniel Valverde, big-time judo and jiu-jitsu guy in his own right. So I think this is going to be a fun fight. There's a lot of different layers to this fight, and I know you're excited about it too.
I am really excited for this fight because, like you said, if we get 15 minutes of striking, this could be a great fight. If we get 15 minutes of grappling, this could be a pretty great fight. Even if we get 15 minutes of just like clinch work between these guys, it won't be great, but it would be better than 15 minutes of clinch work between the majority of fighters, because they do like to get the majority of their work done on the feet, but they can go to their plan B or plan C, which is what you really like out of unranked fighters, especially because, like you had said leading into this video, there's only 2 ranked fighters on this card. But I think you look at some of the matchups, and a lot of these fighters match up with each other better than a lot of most ranked opponents would match up with each other, because for Ramos, we've seen him look really good, but we've yet to see him look great. It's almost like Jason Tatum in the finals so far. It's like, hey, we're sort of waiting for you to explode. And that's the thing about Ramos. I rate him quite highly because I rate Lerone Murphy extremely highly, and I would say Murphy's best win up until this point still probably is Ramos, because he dominated him in that matchup. And I think Ramos is a really good fighter because he's dynamic on the feet. He will throw spinning stuff like we've seen in the past, but he can be more of a traditional striker too and throw more of a 1-2. The only thing about Ramos that I don't love, it's almost the Jonathan Martinez effect. He can get caught just sort of standing there at range, and he is sort of a hittable guy. He doesn't have the best head movement. He doesn't have the best even hand defense either. So if you are a very fast striker on the outside, you can blitz him very fast, and he doesn't have a great reaction to it. It's a lot of just kind of running backwards, not really knowing what to do. And we have seen multiple opponents have success against Ramos when they just pressure him a lot in their fights. Now, that's easier said than done. He has elbows, he has knees. He's a very dangerous fighter even on the retreat, but that's where we have seen a lot of opponents have success. And with Danny Chavez trying to get back to the form that he was able to show in that TJ Brown fight, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more takedowns out of Chavez if he did try to test at least the takedown defense out of Ramos. Now, I'm not here to recommend he gets into these lengthy exchanges with Ramos on the mat, but I do think Chavez could have success if he at least put that question mark in Ramos' mind.
Well, that's to me the same thing to me. I mean, I look at Danny Chavez as a guy that can really enter into the wrestling, but it tends to tire him out. I look at it for Ramos as he made that move to Team Alpha Male a long time ago. Now, this camp, I want to mention it, you look on his Instagram, Doesn't look like he's been in California at all. He's been down in Brazil. He's been training at a home gym. So I made that a placeholder in the graphics of Team Alpha Male. But it looks like he's been working primarily his striking on the IG. So maybe Chavez wants to do that. But a guy that's 35 and 145 pounds, I know he got into MMA late. He had some layoffs as well. So that's kind of the reason why we're here right now at 11-4-1. But I do look at Chavez as a guy that's really going to expend that gas tank. Ramos, only 26. When he does work it in, it's not to a huge detriment of he loses, he completely throws out his striking defense out the window. So I do look at this one. You look at the odds. Another fight where there's a giant favorite. Ramos open to minus 310 favorite, minus 320 right now. For Danny Chavez, open to plus 260. Plus 245, so I guess the odds don't really make a whole lot of sense there, but you get the point. One's a favorite, one is an underdog, and it is that much so, Matt. Not a surprise, because I scrolled down on our Tapology page, but 90% of the fans have Ramos to win, 81% by decision. For the 10% that have Chavez, 58% by decision, 27% by knockout. So again, it's one of those fights that added dimensions from either fighter. It's just who can really make that one thing count. For me, I like the length, I like the size, I like the youth for Ricardo Ramos. I think he's going to be able to get the win because he has a higher work rate.
This fight this weekend reminds me a lot of the Jack Della Maddalena fight versus Ramazan Amid. You have a younger guy who's a bigger favorite against sort of a more well-rounded guy in Danny Chavez. The difference is Chavez, I just don't think he's going to be able to withstand, like you said, the pressure of Ramos. I do think that's a really good point that you bring up about his age at this weight division. Here's what I will say, though. We are going to talk about a few other guys on this card who are a little bit older, still competing. I don't look at Chavez and worry about his durability at this age, though, because he hasn't taken a ton of damage throughout his career. He does only have, 16 fights, so it's not like he has been in these crazy wars. And like you mentioned, he does have some time off, too. So for Chavez, I do worry about his gas tank in this matchup especially, but I'm not too concerned about his durability. I think on the feet, this will be a very fun fight, but I do like Ramos' ability to mix it up.
Yeah, and I mean, for Danny Chavez, one weird thing before we let you go, this one that you can kind of keep in your back pocket. He is a guy with 11 wins, 8 of them, 7 of them are by decision, 4 of them are by knockout. He won 3 fights by knockout to get his way into the UFC. Little bit of an anomaly. He is a good kickboxer. He does have more of a high tie stance when he does fight, but it's just an odd one because you see him go for more of these takedowns, so on and so forth. And a guy like Kai Kamaka was really able to stuff all of the good things out of Danny Chavez, parlay that into losing his next fight, ending up in Bellator, and looking like a world beater again. So Kai Kamaka III, a fun guy to watch.
World beater's a bit of a shit.
In this fight, though, both of us going with Brazil's Ricardo Ramos to get the win. Let us know down below in the comment section whether you have Ramos or the Colombian Warrior. In Danny Chavez, we have a big-time fight in the main event in this weight class of featherweight. Calvin Kattar taking on Emmett. You're not going to want to miss this. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.